Hello everyone, and welcome back to English Unpacked. Today, we're putting on our aprons and getting ready to cook up a storm. Now, I have a confession to make. I once tried to bake a cake for my best friend's birthday, and it ended up looking like a volcano had erupted in my oven. Let's just say it wasn't my proudest moment in the kitchen, but hey, even the best chefs have their kitchen mishaps, right? The great thing about cooking is that it's a journey of learning and experimentation. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a complete beginner, there's always something new to discover. And besides, who doesn't love the satisfaction of creating a delicious meal from scratch? Whether it's a simple bowl of pasta or a fancy three-course dinner, cooking can be a truly rewarding experience. So, grab your utensils, put on your chef's hat, and let's dive into the wonderful world of cooking. Now, before we start chopping and sautéing, let's take a moment to think about why we cook in the first place. Of course, the most obvious reason is to nourish our bodies. We need food to survive, to give us energy, and to keep us healthy. But cooking is so much more than just fuel for our bodies. It's an act of creativity, a way to express ourselves, and a form of art. Think about it. When you cook, you're taking raw ingredients and transforming them into something new and delicious. You're experimenting with flavors, textures, and aromas. You're creating something that not only nourishes your body but also delights your senses and brings joy to your soul. In many cultures, cooking is also a way to connect with traditions and celebrate heritage. Think about family recipes passed down through generations, special dishes prepared for holidays and celebrations, and the cultural significance of certain foods and ingredients. Cooking can be a powerful way to preserve traditions and share cultural experiences. And let's not forget the therapeutic benefits of cooking. For many people, spending time in the kitchen can be a relaxing and stress-relieving activity. The rhythmic chopping of vegetables, the gentle simmering of a sauce, the satisfying feeling of kneading dough. These can all be incredibly calming and meditative. Plus, cooking can be a wonderful way to connect with others. Whether you're sharing a meal with loved ones, cooking together as a family, or bringing a dish to a potluck, food has a way of bringing people together and creating lasting memories. Now, speaking of food, let's talk about two important words, recipe and ingredients. A recipe is a set of instructions for making a dish. It tells you what ingredients to use, how to prepare them, and how to cook them. For example, you might say, I found a delicious recipe for lasagna online. Ingredients are the individual components that make up a dish. They can be anything from vegetables and fruits to meats, spices and grains. For example, you might say, the main ingredients in this dish are tomatoes, onions and garlic. I'm curious, what's your favorite dish to cook? What are the main ingredients? Take a moment to think about it. All right, chefs in training, it's time to gather our tools. Just like a painter needs brushes and a sculptor needs chisels, a cook needs the right equipment to create their culinary masterpieces. Now, I'm not talking about fancy gadgets or high-tech appliances. We're going back to basics with those essential kitchen tools that every cook should have. First up, we have our trusty knives. A good set of knives is essential for chopping, slicing, and dicing all sorts of ingredients. From a chef's knife for those larger tasks to a paring knife for those delicate details, knives are the workhorses of the kitchen. Next we have our spoons, forks and spatulas. These versatile tools are essential for stirring, mixing, flipping, and serving. Whether you're stirring a pot of soup, flipping pancakes, or serving up a delicious salad, these trusty companions will always be by your side. And of course, we can't forget about our pots and pans. From saucepans for simmering sauces to frying pans for searing meats, these trusty vessels are the foundation of many delicious dishes. And don't forget about those baking sheets for cookies and cakes, and those casserole dishes for hearty stews and casseroles. And let's not forget about those measuring cups and spoons. These are essential for ensuring accurate measurements, especially when baking. After all, no one wants a cake that's too dry or a soup that's too salty. Now let's talk about 3 important verbs that we often use in the kitchen: chop, stir, and simmer. To chop means to cut something into small pieces. For example, you might say, chop the vegetables into small pieces before adding them to the pan. To stir means to mix something with a spoon or other utensil. For example, you might say, stir the sauce gently to prevent it from burning. And to simmer means to cook something gently over low heat. For example, you might say, let the soup simmer for 30 minutes to allow the flavors to develop. Here's a fun challenge. I'm going to give you 1 minute to name as many kitchen utensils as you can. Ready, set, go! Wow, that was impressive. I bet you came up with some great ones. Did you remember the whisk, the grater, the rolling pin, and the can opener? There are so many amazing tools that help us create delicious dishes in the kitchen. Okay, now that we have our tools ready, let's move on to the exciting part. Following, a recipe. All right, aspiring chefs, it's time to put our culinary skills to the test. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but Sam, I'm not a chef. I can barely boil an egg. Well, fear not, my friends, because today we're going to demystify the art of following a recipe. Think of a recipe as a treasure map leading you to culinary gold. It provides step-by-step instructions guiding you through the process of transforming simple ingredients into a mouth-watering masterpiece. But just like a treasure map, a recipe requires careful attention to detail. Misinterpreting a single instruction or skipping a step could lead you astray, and your culinary treasure might end up buried forever. So, let's talk about some key words that you'll often encounter in recipes. First up, we have preheat. This means to heat your oven or grill to a specific temperature before you start cooking. For example, a recipe might say, preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, we have bake. This refers to cooking something in the oven, usually uncovered. So you might see instructions like bake the cake for 30 minutes. And then there's boil. This means to heat a liquid until it reaches a rolling boil with bubbles rapidly rising to the surface. For example, a recipe might say, boil the water before adding the pasta. Now, to illustrate this, let's imagine we're making a simple but delicious dish, a classic tomato and basil bruschetta. Here's our recipe. Ingredients: 1 loaf of crusty bread, 2 cloves of garlic, minced 4 ripe tomatoes, diced 1/4 cup fresh basil, leaves, chop 2 tablespoons olive oil, salt and pepper to taste. Instructions: Preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Slice the bread into 1-inch thick slices. Brush the bread slices with olive oil and toast them in the preheated oven for about 5 minutes, or until golden brown. While the bread is toasting, combine the diced tomatoes, minced garlic, chopped basil, and olive oil in a bowl. Season with salt and pepper to taste. Once the bread is toasted, remove it from the oven and rub each slice with a garlic clove. Top the toasted bread with the tomato mixture and serve immediately. See, it's as simple as that. By following these clear instructions, you can create a delicious and satisfying appetizer that's perfect for sharing with friends and family. Now let's embark on a culinary adventure and explore different cuisines from around the world. Okay, fellow food enthusiasts, let's take our taste buds on a trip around the globe. Just as languages vary from country to country, so do culinary traditions. Each culture has its own unique flavors, ingredients, and cooking styles, creating a tapestry of culinary delights just waiting to be explored. Imagine the fiery spices of Indian curries, the delicate flavors of Japanese sushi, hearty stews of Morocco, the vibrant salads of Greece, the rich sauces of Italy, the comforting flavors of Mexican mole. The possibilities are endless. Exploring different cuisines can be an incredible adventure for your taste buds. It's a chance to discover new flavors, learn about different cultures, and expand your culinary horizons. You might even discover a new favorite dish or ingredient that you never knew existed. Now let's talk about 3 words that are often used to describe flavors: spicy, savory, and sweet. Spicy refers to a hot, fiery flavor often associated with chili peppers or other spices. For example, you might say, "This curry is very spicy." Savory refers to a salty or meaty flavor as opposed to sweet. For example, you might say, "The savory flavors of the stew were delicious." And sweet, of course, refers to a sugary flavor often associated with desserts and fruits. For example, you might say, "The dessert was perfectly sweet. I'm curious, what's your favorite cuisine?" Can you describe some of the flavors? Take a moment to think about it. Now, while indulging in delicious food is a joy, it's also important to remember that cooking can be a powerful tool for nourishing our bodies and minds. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to fall into the trap of relying on processed foods and take-out meals. But cooking at home allows you to take control of your ingredients, make healthier choices, and enjoy fresh, wholesome meals. Think about it. When you cook at home, you can choose fresh, seasonal ingredients, control the amount of salt, sugar, and fat in your dishes, and experiment with new flavors and recipes. You can also cater to your specific dietary needs and preferences, whether you're vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, or simply trying to eat a more balanced diet. Cooking at home can also be a great way to manage your portions and avoid overeating. When you cook your own meals, you're more mindful of the amount of food you're consuming, which can help you maintain a healthy weight and prevent overindulging. Plus, there's something incredibly satisfying about creating a nutritious and delicious meal from scratch. It's a way to show yourself and your loved ones that you care about their health and well-being. Now let's talk about two important words related to healthy eating: nutritious and balanced diet. Nutritious refers to foods that are rich in vitamins, minerals, and other essential nutrients that our bodies need to function properly. For example, you might say, this salad is packed with nutritious vegetables. A balanced diet is one that includes a variety of foods from all food groups, providing your body with all the nutrients it needs to thrive. For example, you might say, a balanced diet is essential for good health. If you're looking to make healthier choices in the kitchen, here are a few simple tips. Choose whole grains over refined grains. Opt for brown rice instead of white rice, whole wheat bread instead of white bread, and quinoa instead of couscous. Load up on fruits and vegetables. Aim to fill half your plate with colourful fruits and vegetables at every meal. Choose lean protein sources. Opt for fish, poultry, beans, lentils, and tofu instead of red meat. Limit processed foods. Try to avoid packaged snacks, sugary drinks, and fast food. Cook with healthy fats. Use olive oil, avocado oil, and nuts instead of butter and saturated fats. By making these simple swaps, you can create delicious and nutritious meals that will nourish your body and soul. Okay, it's time to wrap up our culinary adventure. Well, my fellow food enthusiasts, it seems we've reached the end of our culinary journey for today. I hope you've enjoyed exploring the wonderful world of cooking with me. Remember, cooking is more than just following a recipe. It's an act of creativity, a celebration of culture, and a way to nourish our bodies and souls. So whether you're a seasoned chef or a kitchen novice, I encourage you to embrace the joy of cooking. Experiment with new flavors, explore different cuisines, and don't be afraid to make mistakes along the way. After all, even the most experienced chefs have had their fair share of kitchen mishaps. And most importantly, remember to have fun. Cooking should be an enjoyable and rewarding experience. So, put on your aprons, gather your ingredients, and get ready to cook up a storm. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What are your favorite dishes to cook? Do you have any go-to recipes or culinary tips to share? Maybe you have a funny cooking story to tell, or perhaps you've discovered a new ingredient that you're excited about. Let's share our culinary adventures and inspire each other in the kitchen. That's all for today's episode of English Unpacked. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.